what is beauty?
I think for me, and I'm sure many people that have been on this podcast have said that it's not, maybe it's not universal. I feel like I'm coming at this from like a Western vernacular of like what is beauty. I mean, even my ideas of sensations of space are all deeply rooted in Western philosophy. So I guess for me, what beauty is sort of like it is a resting place.
Resting place?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it is. And then going back to that idea of sort of like silence and contemplation, I feel that beauty sort of allows me to confront, dare I say, kind of the sublime, sort of the again like that infinity, that continuous sense of self, and what is sort of beyond the self, um, and being confronted with that is you know, deeply kind of beautiful. I also think that there are layers to beauty that yeah, first and foremost is probably aesthetic, and it can be argued, is that innate or is beauty learned? I think that it is like actually deeply ingrained in us because I read a study somewhere, it was a long time ago, but they said like babies understand attractiveness. But maybe what
Mm.
they really meant to say was beauty, because like, like some of your friends will be like, that baby never smiles at me in the restaurant. Why is that? I didn't want to say, well, I read this article that means that like if the baby doesn't find you particularly attractive in any way, they're kind of off put by you. Nobody taught that baby what is beautiful. So like that leads to so many other questions. Is it symmetry? Is it the fact that you sort of have a beautiful soul, that they're seeing? Are you smiling? Are you wearing bright colors? What is it? Are you kind of uncanny? Does a baby have a sensation for that? I don't know, but I think what it shows us is that it is deeply human to find like aesthetics beautiful. And then I think the other layer of beauty is sort of like an experience, sort of like it's a it comes sort for me like the experience of maybe something structured in a really fascinating way, or there's sort of a logic to it, like a rationale. I do find like rational things to be oddly beautiful,
Mm.
just as much as something that is like falling from the sky and completely illogical. But um, yeah, the structure, math, sort of the geometry of a thing to me is like very kind of actively beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that gives me a sense of then pleasure, right? Experience and pleasure, and then like that activation of kind of emotion, whether that be sentimentality or anything else. But I think, yeah, there's aesthetics and then there is pleasure. Because I mean, as an art maker, I go in the studio, I'm not telling myself I'm going to make something beautiful.
Mm.
What I think keeps me coming back to making art is that I do find kind of a natural beauty in continuing to learn something, right? So like that's the logical part of me that says I deeply crave nourishment in the sense of learning and exploration. And then that creates sort of this pleasure moment as you're making something, you know? Um, and then the results of the beauty, I guess, could be argued maybe what keeps you in it, which sounds
It's
really,
what keeps you in it.
yeah, it gives you validation, right? When you make something beautiful, like that baby will smile at your lovely face, a viewer comes over and says, I really like that work. And I think without beauty, they kind of have a hard time understanding, especially the abstract concepts that we're presenting to the world now. So yeah, maybe beauty sadly gives me a little validation at the end of the day, but I think all of those other things that lead to the finished product are completely as the maker. And that, that's, I guess that could be for any art, but it's just specifically visual art, you know, much easier for people to like be able to speak on behalf of like beauty and music, right?
Yeah.
Just something, again, that's innate. You don't tell somebody what sounds beautiful, they just feel the beauty in it. And it harkens back to something, just as I deal with the idea of memory. Like, my memories will always be more beautiful than the reality of the situation. Why? I think all of our memories are like that, or they would not be something that we look back on with such fondness.